Hey everyone, so I posted a link that you can read about Roger Federer's partnership with On Running and how he got into that partnership because Nike rejected him because they thought his days were over. They thought that he wouldn't get the support. And that's the thing with all these big companies. When you're winning, then you're like, oh, rah, rah, rah. And then as soon as they restructure or something goes on, then they're like, oh no, we can't accommodate you, this, that, what. And it's just amazing how he built that partnership. So that shoe, that On Running shoe, it's a shoe that him and his family, his wife, are familiar with. And it's a shoe that they used to put hose pipes to get the balance at the bottom. It's made in Switzerland. So it just takes you through how he built that relationship with them. And you know what? Good for Nike. Good for Nike. Because that's how they are. That's how the American companies are. And if things were still good for him, they would not have said no. That brand, that RF brand, that comes from Nike. So I saw it on Instagram first, but I saw an article today. So I shared that. And for me, I'm still continuing all my interviews with recruiters. Still no permanent job, no full-time job. So I just have to keep going. It's very discouraging. It's very discouraging after almost 3 years, because that first year that I was at Teleperformance, the business was already going down. So I had already started applying because we were just sitting there most of the time. So we knew that, okay, they must be taking the job somewhere else. And then I had 1 year on EI, and then now I'm on welfare. So I really don't know how I'm supposed to manage with everything. But anyway, I just have to keep at the applications and keep applying. And I do tell them, I tell Roger Federer and Nadal and Novak and Rafa what's happening with me, because they need to know. I do retweet for them and I post for them on social media, so I help where I can. But yeah, today I took that course on disability training. You have to do it here. You have to do it for any work that you do. And people who work as administrators are also considered educators. So it's not only teachers who are considered educators. If you work in administration in a university or school, or you work in administration supporting transportation, you still have to take that course. Sometimes the answers are very hard because the answers can be very similar. And sometimes the option I would choose as the answer is not necessarily what they think is the best option. So anyway, I passed that, but it's basic things, like it's basic common courtesy. Over here, if you don't self-promote, if you don't put what I did and I said this and I decided, you just get passed over. And because they say, oh, she's too humble, she's very humble. So they don't like that. They like people who self-promote. They like people who use the I statement. It's not about the we. When you come from Africa, it's more about the we. It's more about being considerate of other people. And through that, you're supposed to get your promotions, your opportunities, and you're supposed to get into those good paid jobs. Over here, it's all about the I. And what did you do? So it's very different. Why I'm saying some of these things are intuitive, because if you grow up with people who are disabled, if you grow up with people who have sight problems, or people who are blind, people who are deaf, you know automatically how to interact with them. So in Bulawayo, I had a hairdresser who was deaf. And in Harare, I had friends. One of my friends was blind. But when you come here, they treat you like you're stupid, like you don't know how to do anything. The amount of training you have to take on disability, it's too much. So today in the module I took, I think there were 4 sections, one on customer service, one on education, one on transportation, and then one on the act itself. And yeah, it's just too much. It takes about an hour to do it. And it's basic things like if you have somebody with a disability, don't put them in a corner. Don't make them sit and face the wall. Try to accommodate them. Try to make sure your building has accessible entrances. Like make sure there's good lighting. If they have a service dog, don't talk to the dog, talk to the person or a service animal. I mean, it's just things that are common courtesy. When you're dealing with it over the phone, it's harder. And that was one of the things that I had suggested at Teleperformance. It's like, get people to disclose if they have a disability. And it's like, well, some people don't want you to know. Well, if you don't want us to know, how are we supposed to help you? How are we supposed to give you the best service? How are we supposed to accommodate you? And over here, the onus is not on the worker, it's on the company. So if they want to know that, they want testing done or whatever, they have to pay for it. And most times they don't want to. So anyway, I passed that, thank God. Sometimes I don't pass these things. So I passed that, and I had to do it because even as a certified HR professional, that's part of my training. But yeah, just some of it is just intuitive of how you deal with people, how you interact with them, how you communicate with them. So I grew up very different in Africa. So it's very, very hard for me living here. It's very hard because if you don't self-promote, if you don't talk about your accomplishments, you don't talk about what you achieved, what you did, you just get ignored and you get left behind. And it's very much about the I. So even if you go on LinkedIn, if you go and look at all these pictures of people, it's all about what they are doing as individuals, where they went, where they spoke, what they did, who they lectured. I never used to do all that. But now, because I know that this is how the culture is here, I'm also doing it. I don't do it. Before I used to do it like I used to say this is for the One campaign, or this is for EWTN, or this is for the church. Now I'm doing it for myself because I just get left behind. I get sent into bankruptcy. People don't consider me when there's options available to help financially with housing, with money. They don't consider me. So now I'm doing all that for myself, even with the food banks. I've used food banks before here, but it was so long ago I wasn't using them. And I thought, you know what, I'm sick and tired of hearing from people that they can't help me every month. They're tired of helping me. They want me to go and get psychiatric assessments if I want their help. So I said, you know what, just go on to the food bank. Just do it that way, and hopefully you get something working out for you. Because it's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. It's very much about marketing and self-promoting and your brand, and it's not so much about your relationships and the job you've done and whether you've been a good worker and a good citizen. I don't find it being about that. And it's about your test scores. Did you pass the test? Well, sometimes anybody can learn what that job is if they're given the right support and they're given the right opportunities. But they don't do that here. They want you to come in and do everything, be ready-made. So it's really sad. It's on, even at Teleperformance, they started bringing in the shadowing and all that because us as employees, we pushed back. I pushed back. It's very sad how this world has become, including in the church. Very sad. You make one mistake and they remove you. That's not the way that the church should be, and it's not the way that the workplace should be. And other people can come to work drunk, they can come to work high, they can do all kinds of things and they keep them. That's how it is here in Canada.